Hey y'all, welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jen.
And today's a little different. Every quarter, I feel like we do a sit down, check in with you all, get a little honest, a little deep maybe, and really kind of express some of the emotional sides of things of this, because anytime you do this kind of living, it can be emotional.
Yeah, and it's important because a lot of you all are mirroring what we're doing, and everybody's made a lot of the same changes. So it's important to bring those things to light and not just sit back and everything's beautiful and cute animals and rainbows all the time.
Yeah. So let's do a quick year-and-a-half recap, and then we'll get to where we are today. So if you've been around for a while, this might be some news you already know. But if you haven't, a year and a half ago, we moved to this property that we're on. We are in southeastern Kentucky on 12 acres. We have 2 awesome old barns. We have plenty of room to spread out and do the things that we want to, and we have our beautiful home. Our farmhouse that we have dreamed of, we finally have it. Previous to that, we built a pole barn house. We were what we call semi-off-grid because our power was on the grid, but nothing else was. We lived on a compound. We had family there. We were living on my great-grandfather's land that had been passed down all the way to my mother. And it was just one of those things that we were doing to not be ate up by loans, debt, different stuff like that. And we love that life. Well, my stepdad unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack. When he passed away, it really changed the dynamic of the entire compound that we had. It was just my mother that was left on the property. She was struggling when it came to finances because he definitely had a huge impact there. We were on our property. We were really just getting going, so it wasn't like we had a whole lot of extra. And so we all collectively decided that we needed to move. Wait, go on.
Is she eating?
Yeah, she can eat later. You can eat later. She's OP'd.
Okay, so without getting into too much detail, it was kind of a situation where we had to make the best decision we could with the information that we had and what we knew at the time. And unfortunately, that was to move. It wasn't something that any of us wanted to do. However, with our background of, not having, on grid, we didn't have flushing toilets. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you watch our old videos, we made the best of it. It was a wonderful life and we loved it every single day. So we didn't necessarily want to leave, but in every situation, every hardship that we face, we make the best of it. And we were excited to get our new house, get our new farm. We always wanted to expand and have cows and more animals. So there was a silver lining in it, and it was something that we did look forward to and we were excited about. We were excited to have a normal house with, flushing toilets and water that was on the grid and just the normal things that people do. So it was a choice. Like I said, we made the best decision that we could with what we had, but we were also excited for it. So it wasn't a forced decision, something that we were upset about.
Right. So the move itself, when we moved, it seemed like everybody was moving. We moved October 2020 is when we actually closed, but that process started early June on when it was coming to move. And you all know that's a long process, but it did seem like everybody was moving. So we get here. We're talking the dust is everywhere. Things are exciting. Everything's new. There's not one negative thing at all that can be seen.
Besides the goats going missing.
Yeah, besides the goats gone. That was our welcome party. But, everything was just great and fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of you all that moved in that same time felt that same way. A year and a half later, some of the dust starts settling.
Yeah.
And some of the things that you have your rose-colored glasses on start to clear up and you start seeing, and it makes you start not second guessing, but ultimately wondering if you made a mistake.
Yeah. So within saying that a lot of us moved, a lot of us, a lot of you that we talk to daily moved as well, or you're still in the process of moving. So with
all
that,
the way to the detail of even using our realtor.
Yes,
we know there was a lot.
So with that kind of comes this camaraderie of, we know how you feel and you might know how we feel. And then when the dust starts settling at the same time, we might be feeling the same way again. So that's the point of this video, is just to bring that to light, to help you know that you're not alone. If what you're feeling is not positivity 100% of the time. If your dust is starting to settle too and your rose-colored glasses are starting to come off a little, just know that we're right there with you. And it's okay. It's not complaining and saying that we made a mistake.
Right.
It's just bringing that to light and kind of sitting in it and trying to figure out, okay, well, what do we do now?
And I'll lead in with, we are very happy. Right now, we are still very happy. We always are. Like she said, we always see the best in every scenario. And our family just thrives in these kind of situations. Our little four does great in anything that we are. But what it has done is we understand truly what makes us happy. And we're about to get into those details. But I think before we get into that, let's talk about what really is happening to us.
So about a month ago, nobody knows this, so this is something that's coming to light for everyone, and you all included. About a month ago, we had the opportunity to visit our old homestead, and thankfully who bought it was family, so it's always been an option. Even from the day that we moved here, we're welcome, and that's wonderful. However, we felt like emotionally and mentally we needed time before we did that. So we waited a year and 6 months before we made that decision to go back and kind of expose our minds to that situation, because it's difficult. Like I said, it was hard to leave. And when you go back to that, and in this situation, it's so different because not many people even get that opportunity.
Right.
But we got the opportunity to go back, and everything was the same.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason we wanted to go, besides seeing family, because we hadn't seen family in a while, the other part, at least for me, was maybe I can get some closure. I can officially close that door.
Right.
But I think the unfortunate part is it opened it up.
So what I mean when I say everything was the same, not everything. His mom's house, if you watched us for a while, she lived at the bottom of the hill. We showed videos of that when we were selling it, and you all got to see what it looked like. It is completely different. It's still the same house, however, it's much bigger.
Can we even call it the same house anymore? It was the same walls on the outside. Yeah.
No, they have done a wonderful job making that house into a beautiful place. I mean, it is gorgeous and massive now. So that was different. I didn't feel much negative emotion towards that. That kind of felt good. Wow, look what they've done. This is beautiful. And I'm so glad that somebody took the time to pour some love into it.
Yeah, and if you're curious and you didn't see that video, it was a double wide that was bought in year 2000. And so there was green countertops and hunter green carpet and burgundy curtains. That style in 2000, all the color. And so when we walked in, I was like, whoa, this is beautiful and modern. Mom, love the house. She agrees too. She
went with us. She was there too. She goes often.
Yeah.
But as far as our house that sat on top of the hill, it felt like a monument that was preserved in time.
Every aspect was the same. Yeah. Obviously, they had some storage stuff in there, but there was nothing that was different.
A lot of our stuff was still there. The kids' curtains were still hung. Our pictures were still on the fridge. And
the secondary fridge, we took all the
A lot of that was hard to see, but at the same time, it felt like it was something that we needed. I don't even know how to explain that, but I don't know how to explain it.
Well, one thing that I can help explain is as the dust started settling here, there was things I was starting to realize that I actually very much missed at the old place. For example, primary number one. This is the one memory that keeps popping back in my head. We had 9-foot ceilings, but we had a wood burning stove. And so we built our walls 8 foot tall. So everywhere amongst our house, there was a foot gap. And some of you are like, why did you do that? Well, the number one reason was for heat spreading. So it didn't lock any rooms off. And that heat is going to be above there, right there on that 1 foot. And that allows it to go into the other rooms. That was the functional reason. The second piece was we didn't want to spend more money to close that off. And there's no secrets to be told. We didn't really like doors. We didn't like those things. Our house was completely open. So when I would get out of the shower, the sun, our backside was east facing. So that sunrise would just shine through the bathroom and it was beautiful. And right out that window was our garden and greenhouses. And I would get out of the shower and I could hear the kids. I could hear Jen cooking. I could hear our favorite radio station, I know that seems silly, but I have a favorite. And all of that just kind of played into part. Here, I closed the bathroom door. So now when I get out of the shower, it's just quiet. It's just me. And as awesome as that is, and we're very grateful for what we have, that's a memory that I keep thinking about.
Yeah.
So when we were there, I went and I sat in the bathroom to relive that memory one more time.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like it was cool to see that time hadn't completely moved on without us. Like Carol's house is different and that had all moved on, but our little house was still the same as that it was. And it was kind of like the love was still in it, which is really cool because nobody ever lived in that house before us. We built it ourselves. And to this moment, there's no one living in it. Now we know that's going to change and that's okay. But I'm grateful that we were able to see it in that state. Some of our little garden cups were still in the yard. The kids' tree house still had its lights on it.
They
Stuff
have
like
goats
that.
and chickens and stuff.
Yeah, and it felt like it was just kind of a moment that was preserved in time, whether it changes or not. I think it was good for us to be able to see that.
So one other addition to that home was the compound lifestyle. Having family all around us. It's a Wednesday. Everybody's had a hard day. Call everybody up. Hey, I'm going to get the grill going. Let's come up. Let's have a drink and hang out. That is a beautiful piece. Now, when you have a compound and you have family that close to you, first off, before you're like, let's go do it, you're going to argue a lot. Like, you're going to argue a lot. There's going to be things that get on your nerves because you're so close together. And you technically didn't marry your family, right? You married your best friend, but if you're that close, it feels like a huge marriage. The one thing about our compound, though, was we could have those riffs and literally the next day it's over. Like, you have to be willing to drop anything that comes up amongst the family to make a compound work. And we really had that centered down. I mean, we really did. So being able to call people and say, hey, come up this Wednesday, that was a huge benefit for us and something that we miss greatly. Because here, for having a hard Wednesday, well, my mom's 2.5 hours away. Her mom's an hour away. Frankfurt, where we used to live, is 2 hours away. We've tried to make amongst friends here, which we'll get into detail there, but no one on that level of trust, I guess we would say, and openness. So it isn't like, hey, Wednesday, come on, let's just do it. So we definitely have missed that part, which is something that we're trying to start changing. That's our moving forward concept of this video, which we'll get to. But that was a huge other thing that really made us miss where we were. Yes. I told her, because the camera's up here, when I hit record, see, like when I go edit this later, she'll be talking and my hand will be here.
Tell him it doesn't matter.
It does. So I said, just let my arm come down and then start talking.
This isn't going on national television.
Well, no, it's not.
The past piece of what we've done while we've tried to live here, for the 1.5 years that we've been here, I was making a conscious effort. I don't know that he was aware that I was making a conscious effort. But I was trying to not distance ourselves from so much family. And I'm talking about family coming up every weekend, us having the parties that we used to have, people being here all the time. I tried to kind of distance myself from that for a purpose, because I wanted us to be able to spend time on the weekends when he's off of work, to be out in the community, trying to make friends, trying to fit into whatever there is here to fit into, and just trying to make our mark so that when people would text us here or call us, I wouldn't have to say, oh, well, our family's here, so you can't kind of thing. Like, I wanted us to be open to opportunities if an opportunity arose. They never did.
Yeah, so we did. We put ourselves...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we put ourselves out there a lot. We went to... I can't even count how many churches we went to. We went to the different festivals. We were involved in sports. We were doing all the things that...
And Wyatt's still doing baseball.
Yeah.
We did, me specifically, and Raylan got ourselves wrapped up into a situation that I thought would turn out way better than it did. And it turns out that we just wasted a whole bunch of time and money on it, which is unfortunate. And we have 0 friends to our name from that situation.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things that you live and learn from, and we did.
Right. So, long story short, we have very much gotten involved with the community as much as we possibly can.
As much as we can.
The problem is, it's small town living, and this is something that you all need to be aware of if you are deciding to move. When you're looking wherever you are, you're probably going to start looking at, and you're like, well, if we go another hour or 2 hours out, we can get so much more land in this beautiful home. Same thing we did when we searched. Given we love this area no matter what, that's why we searched it. But when you have small town, it's going to be a culture shock, especially if you're coming from what you may think is a small area. It's probably not. We moved from 30,000 to 3,000 when it comes to population. And it's different. It's a different way of living. And, there's a lot of people here. everyone here was born and raised here. You know, the ones that maybe moved here, they're fighting the same situation we are. We're part of the town now. Like, we're cordial and everybody will get along with us, but I don't think we're ever going to be in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to that trust level to what's like, hey man, come over on Wednesday kind of thing. We're still kicking along, but it's something that we've accepted. So that has gotten us to say, okay, open that door back up. Family, y'all are our people.
We have to. We can't sit here and just quarantine ourselves off and tell our family that they can't come when we're not making a difference on the other end. So that's what we did. Well, that's what I did. I was intentional to open that door back up and say, you know what? Family's most important, and whatever can happen here on the side can happen. But at the end of the day, we miss those people so much.
Yep, and I think we finally realized that our family is our best friends. And, you know, sometimes you don't want to admit that, but, like, they truly are. Like, they're the ones that we can trust the absolute most, and they're the ones we can have the most fun with, and they're the ones that we can get on our nerves as possible and know that the next morning we're all going to be fine together. And that's the kind of people that you need in your life, and that's what we're trying to start changing, because we are blessed enough to still have our family around. And so if that's the case, we need to utilize that. Yeah. And on top of all that, actually, it's the reason that we even went back to Frankfurt in the first place. To be honest with you, it was the same weekend. There's pending legal stuff that has been happening. Everything's fine, nothing serious. It's more of just the gift that keeps on giving since we moved here. One day, y'all. I don't even know if it'll ever end. But since the day we moved here, there has been. The whole time. One day, if it can ever finally get cleared up, I promise I will have a very truthful video for you all to share on that. But anyways, that really kick-started our whole, this sucks. You know, like, this sucks kind of thing. And it was that initial hit. It's why it took so long for us to even post this video. Because we didn't want it to be that raw emotion to where we're not thinking things through, anger, stuff like that. We wanted to really settle in because we know someone out there, probably multiple, are starting to have maybe that second thought pop back in their head. So this is where it is. This is how we move forward. This is how you move forward. This is how we move forward in the decisions that we made. Because they weren't bad decisions.
No.
It's just now you're having that maybe regret, maybe second thoughts, maybe mistake start popping in your head.
Just the questioning of it.
Yeah.
Did I do the right thing?
Right. But we'll get through that. So, to make things better, because her and I talked about it. Like, say that our family was like, hey, you want to buy it back? And we was like, yeah, sure. And then we go back. It's not going to be what you think it is. So, like, if you're sitting there missing your old place, it's not going to be the same no matter what. We can't get my stepdad Gary back.
Right.
He has passed away. He was the core of our compound. He's gone. Secondly, when it comes to the compound, there's multiple families, right? So we had at least 4 families that were either on the property or within less than a quarter mile of the property. They're not all coming back. So the compound will never be the same at that exact place with the exact memories that we had.
Right.
So what we realized is we need to center in on what are those key things that made that compound in our memories so special. Number 1 is having family close to us.
Yes.
Number 2 is being a little bit more active when it came outside out of our town. For us, that's going to be the harder one to deal with, because there's not much there. But I think if we can get the family, that'll help us solve that lonely piece.
Yeah.
So, you want to tell them some of the things that we're trying to do?
Yeah. So our old place was just it was a perfect opportunity. We had everything that we wanted right there, including family, but also including like our backyard, our oasis, stuff like that. We failed 100% last summer at trying to make that happen. Now we tried. We failed forward. We tried. We really did. Like, we put the pool over there. We put our garden. We grew, even though we didn't have the ideal situation. But it just turned out to be kind of a fail and kind of just a letdown overall, because it was like, well, this is nothing like what we pictured it was gonna be. So moving forward, we're making plans to change that. Y'all have seen the new raised beds. We're gonna have the new garden area. We're hoping to do. You okay? Okay. We're hoping to do some major house changes, mainly just one room, to be able to get ourselves out there, and so our family can be all together while we're in the garden.
It feels major, but it's really just because
really not that big.
Because we have to cut stone, because we're a stone house. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just really debunked everything there. So that solves that one problem. Homesteads are in your backyard. They just are. We have a farm now, whether we want to admit it or not. It's a farm. Everything's way out there. Yeah. And so like around our yards are just yards. So we'll have the oasis close to us. That's going to be right by us. We love being in the pool and looking at the gardens and all that different stuff. That's part one, on its way. Part two is we're trying to figure out a way to get more family down here.
Yes.
We have the availability within our family to be able to make these kind of decisions and do so. It's just figuring out the logistics. Okay, so moving forward. So if you're sitting in the same situation, we challenge you. Look inward on what it is that you miss, because it's not necessarily the house, right? It's usually the memories that were made. Something inside that house is what you're missing, and you can create it again. Like, even with what we're trying to do isn't going to make it exactly how it was. But it could allow us to create new memories that we'll think about in another time as well. So think about it. Sit down, think about it. Don't just miss and want back, because it'll never be the same. Just figure out truly in your heart what it is that you miss, because that's the stuff that is most important to you, and that's what you can recreate. Don't say never can happen, because it can. If you say that there's a loss in the family, we had that too.
Yeah.
But there's still stuff that you can figure out to make it as close as possible to those things that you're missing.
Yeah, make a little list and then really soul search it and figure out how to change it.
Yep. And then most importantly, remember why you moved where you moved to. Yeah. There is good there, but now the roses are gone and all you're seeing is the negative. But the good's still there. They're just waiting for you to come back to them. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a raw pack of a bunch of different emotions in there.
We're okay.
And yes, we're perfectly fine. We're happy where we are. We've gone through that motion. Now we're just trying to make change to make it better come this summer.
And whether you're happy or not, it's still important to unpack that and figure out if you are.
But yeah, this was a wild one. I hope you all enjoyed. We like to have these sit downs, like I said, about once a quarter. And so hopefully the next quarter will be a little bit more happy emotion. Yeah. All right, y'all. We love you. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to down below.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.